polygamy. It's a pretty heated concept in the world of lovers and relationships and society. And weirdly enough, I am no stranger to polygamy. Not because I myself practice polygamy, I wouldn't fucking dare, I am monogamous through and through. But because I have actually met multiple polygamists in my life. There is one such polygamist that I even covered in a video of mine back in the day. In fact, it was Japan's biggest polygamist, or I guess the most infamous, most controversial polygamist. I believe I titled the video like interviewing Japan's most hated family, which wasn't clickbait. At the time that these guys came out, they were one of Japan's most hated families, and if you want to check that video out, link is in the description. But I never would have imagined in 100 years that I would be making a follow-up video to this polygamist family, because there have been some real serious updates here with this particular article here from Gaijin Pot kind of summarizing everything. So we're going to be looking at this article together that says YouTuber with 3 wives is losing everything. The history of polygamy in Japan includes emperors with concubines, shoguns with sprawling households, and enough heirs to start countless wars of succession. Emperor Meiji had 1 official empress, but fathered 15 children with 5 concubines. Goddamn, the boy had motion. Tokugawa Ienari reportedly fathered more than 50 children with numerous women. And then there's Ryuta Watanabe, a 38-year-old YouTuber behind the Ippu Tasai channel, literally one husband, many wives channel, who revived polygamy as a modern lifestyle. Revived is a strong word. I mean, he single-handedly revived it with his own volition. I wouldn't say that he brought about a new wave of polygamists in Japan or anything like that. Watanabe filmed life under one roof with 3 wives and 11 children. He said he wanted to beat Tokugawa's numbers and father more children so history would remember his name. The setup fell apart once money became a problem, and the household stopped feeling like Tenchimuyo and started feeling like 4 adults, 11 kids, and 1 income hanging on viewers. Shout out Gaijin Pot for that slick Tenchimuyo reference. I see you, my boy. I appreciate that one. Watanabe blamed the split on financial strain and fights with 2 partners who left with their children. Supporting 1 spouse in Japan in 2026 already feels impossible. Now try 3. Turns out you can't compare a Tokugawa-era household backed by land, taxes, and political power to a YouTuber household backed by cup ramen and a ring light. Holy fuck, they are going in on this guy. God damn. I know about this entire thing again because, as I mentioned at the intro of this video, I have interviewed this exact family right here. These 4 people right here. I went to their house in Hokkaido where they were based, and I interviewed them and tried to get to the bottom of how the hell they ended up in this particular situation. It was really interesting because, as the article says right here, the husband in this particular case was like, yeah, I want to leave my name in the history books by birthing as many people as possible, being the biggest polygamist in Japanese history. And, you know, in this current day and age, especially in Japan with, you know, inflation on the rise, the economy being as shitty as it's ever been, and, you know, cost of living is getting higher and higher with more families producing less and less children. It's a wonder, like, how do you support this big of a family? How does one man support 3 wives and 11 children? That's 14 people that they have to take care of. And I figured, oh, you know, you might be thinking maybe he's like a rich motherfucker, you know, maybe he's like a multi-millionaire with like land and like, you know, kind of in the same way as the Tokugawa family. No, in fact, motherfucker is unemployed. As if trying to create your own real-life anime harem was the most unemployed mindset you could possibly have. Imagine actually being unemployed and trying to fulfill that shit. Watanabe launched his channel in 2023. He'd filmed daily life in Hokkaido inside a self-declared polygamous household. At his peak, he lived with 3 partners under one roof and had 11 children. He never registered legal marriages. Yes, because in Japan, shocker, polygamy is not legal. Having multiple wives is not legal. The content came from childcare, chores, and co-living stress. Watanabe also kept calling himself a kept man, or himotoko, which essentially just means unemployed and mooching off of the wives who had to supply all of the money. He handled cooking, cleaning, and video production, but his partners earned the income. However, life quickly caught up. As childcare increased and income became less predictable, tensions grew. Japan's National Center for Child Health and Development estimates the cost of raising a firstborn to age 18 at about 21.7 million yen, which is definitely not an amount of money that people can scoff at, especially if you're living in, middle to low income households, and especially if, for instance, you have 11 children and 3 wives to take care of, or I guess you have 3 wives to take care of yourself and the 11 children. The breaking point came after he floated the idea of expanding the family further by recruiting new partners overseas. The word recruiting is so gross. Framing it as a way to grow both the household and the channel. I picture his partners quickly glancing around the room, mentally counting children, expenses, and available chairs, and realizing the math was about to get worse. By late 2025, 2 partners had left and returned to their families with their children. Watanabe later posted that the household had collapsed. He also said he had about 110,000 yen left and lived out of a car with the one remaining partner. Which, girl, blink twice if you need help. I love... God, who wrote this Gaijin Pod article, bro? Who wrote it? Aaron, you're a funny motherfucker, bro. I appreciate the little humor and just the unrelenting bashing that you were doing to this guy. So yeah, not a shocking turn of events whatsoever. Guy with 3 wives was like, hey bro, I want to go overseas to get some more fucking international bitches in the family. You feel, dog? And the wives were like, not on our watch, motherfucker. I'm taking the kids with me. You can't take care of these kids anyway with your broke, unemployed ass. And so now he is left with one remaining partner, which I am shocked that he managed to strike a 33% success rate even after this decision. Like, I completely understand and sympathize with the other 2 partners who decided to leave with the children. Good on you. Take care of your children. Fuck this guy, this unemployed guy. And this other, this final, 3rd wife who decided to stick around. What are you doing, bro? How desperate can you be? How good can the sex be? So yeah, now he's left without a home, living out of a car with about $1,000 to his name. Awesome turn of events. Modern polygamy in Japan rarely resembles historical precedent. It usually makes headlines because it's weird to Japanese people too. So don't come out of this with a wacky Japan take. Yeah, as I mentioned, polygamy was outlawed in Japan many, many years ago. I mean, I kind of skipped over it in this article here, but, the Civil Code introduced in 1898, it formalized marriage as a single legally recognized union tied to inheritance. So, Japan also understood after the Meiji Restoration that polygamy was a little bit outdated, a little bit weird for the average layman, and decided to outlaw it over 100 years ago. So naturally, when you have a polygamist family in the modern day, which is, again, very much illegal, you're bound to get some fucking weird looks, for example. And it's shocker because apparently Ryuta, this guy right here that we're talking about in this article, is not the only known polygamous family. In 2024, Takashi Fujita, a businessman in Takamatsu, described himself as living with multiple wives. Because Japanese law only allows one legal marriage, he married one partner after multiple divorces caused by his infidelity, while using Japan's adult adoption system to place additional partners into his household registry. He literally adopted his wives, bro. Is that not the weirdest fucking thing you've ever heard? He argued that the idea of staying with one person for life is basically a Christian concept. He also insisted that his wives could not have other partners because women get serious, while casting himself as their protector and benefactor and claiming he would set aside 100 million yen for each partner if they stayed. And look at that. Thank you, Gaijin Plot, for the shout out. I appreciate you because I was the only person who was documenting this shit. So bam, there you go. Recognition from Gaijin Plot. I appreciate you. In early 2026, Japanese police arrested people connected to a man promoting a polygamy-style household after allegations surfaced that women were persuaded to hand over large amounts of money as part of their relationship. Basically, it's like a cult. And unfortunately, there are a lot of these quote-unquote polygamists who are using this whole polygamy route to do these kinds of horrible scams. Investigators found documents on his computer analyzing his partner's personality and upbringing like real supervillain type brainwashing, which, shocker, I also made a video on recently, which you can click up there or the link is in the description below. Japan has seen this kind of manipulation before. The most infamous example is Om Shinrikyo, who maintained sexual relationships with multiple female followers, often framed as spiritual training or religious duty. Now, to give Watanabe Ryuta some credit here, he was not that kind of person. As someone who met him in his own home, face to face, and got to have a proper, nuanced discussion with him, I will say from my perspective that yes, to a lot of people looking at this from the surface, he is a terrible person. You know, the fact that he was trying to wife multiple people and, you know, try to create this fucking weird harem in his own deranged mind is, yes, he's a little bit of a weird motherfucker, but he's not Asahara Shoko. He's not some kind of cult leader or anything. He legitimately believed that he could do this. He legitimately believed he was like the Tokugawa Ienari reincarnate and was like, yeah, I can one-up a fucking shogun from the Edo period in terms of the number of wives and children produced by a single man. So don't get it twisted in thinking that all polygamous families in Japan are like these deranged like cult leaders who are trying to manipulate women in the most terrible and, you know, scammy ways, because that is certainly not the case. You know, there are some people who genuinely are just interested in the polygamous lifestyle, and yes, although it may be illegal, if it is consensual, like it was in the case with this particular family here, because again, I talked to these 3 wives as well, and they were definitely aware of the situation of that they were going into a polygamous relationship, and they were completely okay with it for years. And the fact that even after this breakup, he allowed the 2 wives to leave with their children in a hopefully not too messy way, or at least it didn't devolve into any kind of like legal pursuit or anything like that, means that, you know, at the end of it all, he was just an ambitious man who just kind of fucked up and flew too close to the sun, I would say. I don't know, am I giving the man too much credit? I'm not too sure. But either way, the situation is weird, and in a weird way, inevitable. I think everybody kind of saw this coming. I think everybody kind of saw that, yeah, in the 2020s, it's pretty fucking difficult to pursue something that one of the most powerful men in the country 300 years ago was able to do. You know, you are not Tokugawa Ienari, bro. You are Watanabe Ryuta, an unemployed man living in Hokkaido who apparently was really good in bed, so much so that he was able to convince multiple women to birth multiple children and pay for everything. Now, as much as I appreciate the writing of this Gaijin Pot article, I will say that this final paragraph here is a little weird. They kind of go on talking about the harem anime genre, and thinking that, you know, shows like Tenchi Muyo, for instance, that were referenced earlier, was like the inspiration for these kinds of polygamists or anything like that. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. You know, sure, there may be some people who are just obsessed with the whole idea of harem that they want to try and replicate it in real life, but I think the average person is a little more level-headed than that and can, you know, understand reality from fiction. You know, I'm not going to say everyone is like that, but at least in the case with Watanabe Ryuta here, he definitely wasn't thinking about it in that instance. But yeah, either way, that's the update to it all. I did actually watch the video that kind of set the catalyst off for this entire thing. He made a video kind of talking to his wives to bring up this idea of like, yeah, thinking to go overseas to get some more wives, and the wives were like, fuck no, you're not, and then taking the children away. You know, I saw the whole thing, and I was kind of waiting until kind of news articles came out about it before I wanted to discuss it, because, you know, I didn't want to just be like flipping through the video for 30 minutes or whatever and making it boring. So first of all, shout out to Gaijin Pot for creating this article. Shout out to Aaron for creating this article to just summarize all of it in a neat and tight packaged way, and even throwing in some, you know, fucking history lessons about Japan polygamy and doing a sick Tenchi Muyo reference in 2026. I appreciate you, dog. But yeah, if I were to, you know, speak to Watanabe directly, as I have in the past, I would probably say, bro, I think it's time to let reality sink in a little bit. I get that you wanted to leave your name in the history books of like the biggest Giga Chads in Japan or something, or, you know, to be standing toe-to-toe with Tokugawa Ienari for birthing the most amount of children, but this is 2026. This is not the 1700s anymore. Life is different now, and even though you basically stood at the starting line of trying to become the biggest polygamous family in all of Japan, the way you went about it was just not it, bro. You cannot try to birth and wife that many people into your life without giving something in return. The fact that his only, I guess, reaping of the sows was to do the chores and to do stuff around the house and take care of the children and provide zero monetary incentive to the family is just a really fucking big red flag that I have no clue why the wives were okay with, to be honest. I mean, fuck, man, you really let go of some very forgiving people, and you should be blessed at the fact that you were able to get away with this for as long as you were able to. So hopefully this is a lesson to you, man, to just like pick your life back up, make sure to take care of the one remaining wife that you have. Get yourself a job. I know, sorry for jump scaring you with that word, but get yourself a job. Build your life back up. You're still 38 years old. You'll be all right, big dog. But anyways, that's just my thoughts and opinions about this whole update. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about anything I said down in the comments below. And again, if you haven't checked out my interview with this particular polygamous family, then make sure to do so by clicking the link in the description below, or I'm sure it's one of the videos either to the left or the right of me right here, so make sure to click that. While you're at it, make sure to smack my face right here to subscribe to the channel as well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!